are not actually we're not actually live right now, but
Hey, I've
that's
had that.
okay,
I've had
man.
that.
We're live in YouTube, so I'll post it later. It's no big
Okay.
deal. It's how it rolls around here.
Yeah.
Things just happen, and what are you going to do? So, we are actually going to be talking about something very, very important today. Oh my gosh, we are live. What is happening? This is very
Oh,
weird.
good.
It
Hello.
doesn't
Glad
say
we're
we're
live.
live, but we're live. I don't know why, but here we are. So, anywho, whatever the case. So, we are going to be talking about something very important for us homeschool parents and especially homeschool moms that end up with a lot of brunt of the work. Although the dads, let's give a shout out to you because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you're always very important.
Oh,
But
yeah.
sometimes you are in the throngs of homeschool education. And it's important for dads also. I've noticed after talking with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents across the country that dads really specifically like to see the progress. And
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to them to know that their kids are getting something.
Yes.
Moms, we can kind of flow with it for a while, and though we kind of feel uncertain, we're like, okay, no, it's gonna be okay though. And dads are like, I don't know, man, I'm not seeing, I'm not kind of getting weirded out by it. So it's important to see the progress while we're going through all this uncertainty, whether we're just new to homeschooling or we're going through a transition phase or we're in a family reset. You guys know I talk about that a lot. There's a whole episode on that in the podcast. If you want to go back and to the different episodes and check that out, I would definitely recommend that. But needless to say, we are talking about how to see that progress. And Kelsey is so amazing because she is actually also, we're kindred spirits. We're former teachers, homeschool parents, and so we are in we definitely know this phase
Mm-hmm.
because we are used to seeing like a data-driven progress, that kind of thing. When we're in school, we got all these assessments, and then there's this data, and we have to see that all the time. We have to analyze that. But when we're homeschooling, it can be hard because we don't have all those things necessarily.
Yeah.
So instead of overwhelming our kids with tests and quizzes all the time, which is not necessary, then we can actually see the progress in other ways. And that's what I love about what Kelsey is about. Is she's about taking care of yourself as a parent. And one of the ways we can take care of ourselves as a parent is to, and as a teacher as well, because we're all still teachers, but
Mm-hmm.
is to really be able to see that progress. This is something that I teach to my Inspiring Lifelong Learning Academy members, is to be able for us to see the wins. It's hard sometimes when it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
go your way, it didn't go how you thought it was going to, and where's the win there? We don't know where it is. But sometimes it just takes a little bit of shift of focus, which is what Kelsey's all about. So, Kelsey, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm super excited that we're going to talk about this. It's something that, like I said, I teach all the time, but we haven't done a podcast episode on this. And I know you're the expert.
Oh,
She's written a
thank
book
you.
called Educate and Rejuvenate, and she has an amazing event coming up, which I'm honored to be a guest speaker at. And it is so amazing how she develops this whole inspiring community to where she's really lifting and really feeding us as parents, teachers, and educators, who whatever form that might take, and really making sure that we're solid so that we can be solid for our kids. So, Kelsey, tell us a little bit about yourself and like how you what is so important about taking care of us as parents and as teachers?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you for that lovely introduction. I'm Kelsey. I have been homeschooling since 2019. And I am also, again, so I'm a homeschool mom. I taught third grade. I subbed. I currently teach social emotional learning, mindfulness and movement classes at a wellness center. So I'm teaching there as well. Bring my kids with me. So I know the busy homeschool mom life, right? I'm running my Educate and Rejuvenate company. I'm homeschooling my kiddos. We are taking a little break over the summer, but while I put on this awesome event, but one of the things that has been a big part of my journey is what we're talking about today is learning how to look at the wins and not looking at all the things going wrong, especially as you mentioned, like coming from a teaching background, it was all about data, right? It's like, are the kids improving? Are they not? And so much focus on checking those boxes. And that is something I really had to unlearn as a homeschool mom. And I also had to learn that for me, it's so easy to get consumed by parenting, homeschooling, running my business, all the different things that I actually, shortly after I started homeschooling, I had my third baby. So I started homeschooling my oldest, who was in kindergarten. Like you, I homeschooled from the beginning. And then in October of that same school year, had my third baby. And then 5 days later, I was in the emergency room because I was having panic attacks because I just felt like I couldn't do it all, like right after having a newborn. And obviously, there was a lot of physiological things to that because I was postpartum. But in that moment, I realized that it wasn't just that. It was that I had been worrying and stressing my life away for pretty much forever. It was a pattern I'd been in, toxic perfectionism, needing to do everything right. And like bolded and italicized in my book was like in that moment I realized I didn't want to worry my life anyway anymore. I wanted to enjoy my life. And that is kind of the origin story almost of this whole movement, because I realized that if we burn ourselves out, like I don't want other people to have to go to the ER and have to be hooked up to all the machines I was hooked up to, to and meds are great and all that, but have to do all the work that I had to do to get to where I am now. I would love to catch you before that time and help you to rejuvenate yourself, to find that balance before it gets to that point. So that is why to me this mission is so important, because I want you as a homeschool mom to not burn out, to just enjoy and be more intentional. Cami and I just did an episode on my show as well, and we talked a lot about intentionality, and that is what I want to help you to do, to create an intentional life inside and outside of homeschooling so that you can enjoy homeschooling your kids, right? You chose to do this but to develop relationships, to be able to be home with them more, to be able to um like tailor that education to them, right? It wasn't just to do school at home. It wasn't just to check boxes or to make sure that everything is perfect. And so that's why we're going to talk about owning your wins all along the way, and how that is one big thing that is going to help you with that rejuvenate piece. Because if you're focusing on, okay, this is going well, then your body can rest a little bit and be like, okay, yeah, things are going well. We can take a break.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and I love that you shared that story because a lot of times we can feel this martyrdom as
Mm-hmm.
not only a mom but also a homeschool mom, especially
Mm-hmm.
that we have this, I'm a hot mess, and that's just, like that's the stake in the ground, that's the pillar that I stand on, and this, you know, we're all a hot mess at sometimes. It's
Right.
just how life is, and it's
Life.
totally fine. However, we don't want your whole life to feel like a hot mess all the time. It's not a healthy way to live, and it causes so much stress for everyone, and it lowers love
Mm-hmm.
of learning, and ultimately because everybody's
Ultimately,
so
yeah.
stressed out. Yeah, when
Yeah.
mom's stressed out and they got the hot mess going on, and everything's a wreck, and we feel like nothing's happening, and oh my gosh, and the kids feel that chaos as well. They
Mm-hmm.
feel that there's no groundedness there. And so I love, love, love that idea of us feeling like we can we can manage things intentionally to take care of ourselves, to take care of our families. I love that. So when you're talking about, I know in your book you talked about celebrating the wins and how like your own resistance to that shifted over time.
Yeah.
So I know that especially as teachers, we can feel sometimes that it's we have to see these certain types of wins.
Mm-hmm.
So what kinds of wins, how has that shifted for you over time when you look for all the wins?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, the first shift was like actually starting to look at my wins, right? So when I was in that state, I realized, like, I mean, even just kind of picking off with what I was just saying, like, I want to enjoy my life and all of that. And then there were all these kind of things that happened that led me to hire my first ever life coach. And that's what led me to, again, become a coach and now be doing the work I'm doing now. But when I hired her for these sessions, she at the beginning of each session wanted to start with, what were your wins? And to me, I was like, I'm paying a lot of money for these sessions. Like, I need to get to, like, how do I change things? How do I get to having like a better life? How do I get to where I don't feel like I'm overwhelmed by everything? And I thought that that was just a waste of time at the beginning of the call, or a time filler. Like that is literally what my brain thought of that at that time. And but over time, as we started doing it, and I was like, boy, this is actually a huge part of the work, is recognizing those wins, because when you do, suddenly like it does feel a little better to realize, like, oh, not everything is on fire. Look, that over there is going really well. And it does shift our perspective also, because our brains are wired, and this is something I've learned over that time as well. Our brains are wired to prove themselves right. So if you are
Yes.
always looking for the negative, it's our reticular activating system. Our brain wants to be right more than it wants us to be happy. So if we are only looking at the negative, we are going to continue to focus on what's going wrong, or what our kids are doing wrong, or, oh my goodness, they are not reading well enough, they're not writing well enough, they're not doing this well enough, nothing is working, you know. But if we take a moment and we look at, oh, well, this is going right and that is going right, then our brain is going to look for more evidence of that. It is going to look for evidence of what is going well. And then from there, we talk a lot in my work, and we're not going to get into all of this today, about the self coaching model, and about how our thoughts impact our feelings, impact our actions and results. So, with that, like when you're suddenly noticing these good things going on, you're having more positive thoughts, you're feeling better, which then leads you to take different actions, which then is kind of this cycle of now things are going better than they were. So, actually, the fact of acknowledging your wins and what is going right is helping you to create more of that. And so, when I had that shift, when I started realizing in those sessions with my first coach, like, wait, this is actually really helping. And then I eventually read a book that we're going to talk about, the framework of the gap and the gain, and that just like blew my mind. And then and in the event the first couple of years, that was like my main session. I talked about that, and now I talk about so much more as well. But everybody loved like my session about owning your wins, because everybody needs to hear that message. So I'm glad we're circling back to it today. I feel like this is like my old topic that is now like one of many things that I talk about, when it used to be the main one. So
Yeah, well, it's so important. I've had some clients that have said, "Oh, I didn't come today to our group mentoring session because I knew you were going to ask me about wins, and I felt like we had no wins." And I was like, "No, don't do that." I was like, "Don't do that," because really, that is the perspective, and that law of attraction there, our brain working in
yes.
that way, is so true, and it's. I've had clients where they had a horrible, like it didn't go the way they wanted to. This one mom, and she says, "Oh, this mentoring session that I had with my son like didn't go at all. How? I mean, he just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to talk to me, didn't want to whatever. He just wanted to go back and do his work." And I was just asking about his interests and stuff, and I feel like that was such a failure. And I said, "So what did you find out?" And she was like, "Well, I've realized he didn't like learning. He just likes checking a box." And I was like,
So you
"What
found
a
out a lot.
win!
So you found
What
out a lot.
a
Yeah.
win!"
We
She was like,
discount
"What?
things so
What?"
easily. It's insane. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes having that third party too, to be able to look out and see
Yeah.
that for you and be like, no, that was actually a gigantic win. If
Yeah.
you didn't know that, we'd be focusing on the total wrong place, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my gosh,
You
that's
got to the
true.
root cause. Like, that's what a lot of people spend like how long trying to discover, right? Like, bam.
Exactly,
That's a huge
exactly.
win.
It's such a huge win. I love it. And so thinking about how we can get in that mindset, because we can definitely get down that rabbit trail, proving ourselves right all the time, and then it's like this vortex. And so how do
Mm-hmm.
we get out of that? What things can we do daily that we can like think about our daily wins? Because I know sometimes it's just you're trying to survive the day, and you're like, oh yeah, wins. I thought I don't have time to think about that right now. I'll think about it later, and then
Yeah.
you never get to it. So if it's something tangible, maybe that would be more
Yes. Yeah. So,
helpful.
one thing I encourage people to do in my book, and this is adapted from that book that I mentioned, The Gap and the Gain, by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. It is an amazing book. It is geared towards business owners, but honestly, it's like a life skill. And actually, before I talk about the strategy, I should explain the gap and the gain.
Yeah.
So, the gap and the gain, it's basically two mindsets, right? Either way, let's imagine we have this like line of time, like this timeline, right? And we are right here, right? So this is where we're at right now. And then this is where we were. And then this is where we want to go. When we're in the gap, we are looking just at where we are versus where we want to go. And that where we want to go is always moving. So we're never there. It's that moving goalpost. When we're in the gain, we're realizing that we're already like the starting line isn't where we're at. The starting line is back here. We've already done so many things that lead us to where we are. So, an example for a homeschool parent is like you're homeschooling. How long have you been homeschooling? Oh, a year? Oh, well, at one point you just had the idea of homeschooling and that maybe it's something I could do. I couldn't even make the decision yet. And now you've been doing it for a whole year and you've learned all these different things. Or maybe even if you are at the beginning, it's like, oh, I made the decision, or oh, I found a curriculum, or oh, I joined some groups, or you're listening to this right now, right? You have done something to get you to the point that you are now. And you're not giving yourself credit for any of that. So when we get into the gain, we're looking at all the things we've learned, all the experiences we've had that helped us get to the point we're at, that give our brain evidence that we can get to the new place. And so we're in the gain, right? We're in, oh, wow, look at all these things they've gained. We can still have the same goal to get to a new outcome, but we're just coming at it from a different mindset where we feel determined, where we feel confident, where we feel clarity about where we're headed and where we are now. And we stand confidently there. So that is the gap in the gain, right? We want to be in the gain. And when we notice that we're in the gap, because we will get there, right? When we notice that like you have those thoughts creeping in, like, oh, I could just never do this, or it's so far to go, I can never get there, or my kids, they're failing at math, or whatever. That's when you notice and you're like, well, what progress has my child made this year? And you'll be able to find something, right? And then you'll be like, oh yeah, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. Like rarely is it like, I mean, I would say like you can always find something, honestly.
Yep.
So the practice that I recommend is that each day you spend some time to get into that mindset of the gain. And the way you do that is at the end of each day, you write down 3 wins from the day. So, like 3 things that went well that day. And then here's the key, you write 3 wins that you're going to have the next day.
Ooh.
And they have to be individual, singular things. We often have a to do list of like 20 things. This needs to be like, no, like for me, like where I'm, running my business, it might be like, I read a book with my child. I get an email sent out and this like individual, not like I get all these things, all my work things done. No, that's not one thing.
Yeah.
So 3 top priorities that would be major wins that like no doubt you can get them done tomorrow.
I
And
love
so
that.
you write those down. And then the next day when you write your 3 wins, whenever I do this exercise, I always get more done. Like even on a bad day, I usually get more done than those 3 things I wrote down. So you're realizing, oh wow, look how much I'm getting. You're building momentum because you're like, instead of like comparing, looking at your to-do list of 20 things, you're like, oh, I didn't finish those. You're looking at just those 3 top things. You did them. And then usually I try to write, and I did this too, or whatever, when I write down my things that I did that day. And then you repeat it for the next day. And it really just helps you build momentum. And you don't have to do this forever. It's really just while you're getting, I mean, you can if you'd like. It is an awesome exercise. But for me, there are always new exercises and things I'm trying. So I'm not like currently doing that one, but I did find it very helpful when I was doing it. And if I find myself getting into the gap too much, I pull that one back out again and I do it because it just helps you build that momentum of getting your brain to look for what is going right and realizing that you're doing so much more than you think.
I absolutely love this. And this is something that I do teach about, writing down the wins. It's so funny though. I love writing down the what you're going to have, the wins because it actually focuses your mind to priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And it focuses yourself on making sure that those things get done, like no matter
Mm-hmm.
what tomorrow. So, and then when you come back, you usually, seriously, when I go to write these things down, I start with three, and my intention is to do three, and then usually it's like five or six.
Yep.
And so your brain gets in the seeking mode, like like you said, of seeking those wins out, and you're like, oh, there's one over there. Oh, there's one over there. oh, there's one over there, right? And so it's really amazing to be able to do that on a regular basis, because then you're actually seeing progress where you didn't feel there was any progress before. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that is so affirming to it's a lot of times, especially in homeschooling, we feel so lost, feel like we're just in
Yeah.
such a rut and things aren't going well, level of learning is low, and we don't know how to get it back up. Well, you don't have to know, but there can be wins during the day. Just like you can always find something positive to say, just, about every single person, even if
Yes.
it's like, I'm positively sure that I don't want to be. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But, but anyways, I love this idea. And so, taking those daily times, and you can even do it like heck, do it on your phone as a voice memo. Like, you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to even do it written. You don't have to
Yeah.
have a special journal. I mean, if you're
Oh,
into
yeah.
that, then do it, man. You could just have like a scratch paper out, or something,
Mm-hmm.
and just write it down, or just do a voice memo at the end of the day and just be able. I will say that writing it, and you'll probably agree that
Agree.
writing
Yeah.
it does make a difference.
Yeah.
That rather than voice memoing, but if you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I
If
mean,
that's the only thing that feels doable to you, like done is better than nothing, right?
right.
But yeah, scratch paper or I mean, and also if you do decide to get the Educate Rejuvenate book, like that exercise is a very cute printable in the workbook. So
Oh,
that comes with it. So the PDF. So you could grab that too.
nice, nice. I love that. So, in when we're doing this activity and when we're seeking, how does that affect us in our families when we're
Mm-hmm.
seeking these wins? Because I know it's a game changer.
Yes. Well, and I feel like it's an exercise that as you start doing it, you can teach your children to do this too.
Yep.
And then they're looking for their own wins. And then that helps them to, again, kind of like we were talking about on our other episode, become like ownership of their learning and become lifelong learners because they're noticing, oh, I did this really well. It builds their own confidence. So it can even be something that you like implement at the dinner table. Like, what were your wins for today? And talk about it that way, or as a part of a bedtime routine, right? So I feel like as we start doing the work on anything, whether it's owning our wins, whether it's tuning in with ourselves, whether it's, regulating our nervous system, that's a big thing I talk about because we tend to get very dysregulated, or paying attention to our mindset, or processing our feelings and acknowledging them, and um, talking about what you do with them. As we do that, our kids learn. They learn best just by seeing us do it. So it really has this huge ripple effect on your family. So you might think like, well, I need to focus on my family. I don't have time to do this for myself. Or I just need to have all my mental energy on how to help my kids. It's really doing this for you is doing it for them. It is like if mom's not happy, nobody's happy, right? That's what we hear a lot, but it's true. That's why it's a saying. So again, we it's really important that you not only educate your kids, but you rejuvenate yourself too.
Yeah, and really teaching them how to get themselves out of a rut. Especially,
Yes.
I know my son is very perfectionist oriented as well, and those kids can really get down on themselves. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
man, when they fail, it's like the world has ended. They're, like that whole, just their whole mental state just drops, and they can't have a hard time. I always mess this up. Why can't I just figure this out? All these things, and
Yeah.
it can really mess with their self image. And so doing this activity with them and also
Mm-hmm.
with your spouse too, because I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
hey, we need to see wins everywhere,
Yes,
right?
we
So,
do.
and dads need to see wins as well, especially if you have a spouse that's not home all the time, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, to be they just don't see it.
Yeah.
And they're not having those conversations with your kids. So I love this idea of really bringing it down and creating that you know my jam is creating a culture, and creating a culture where we're intentionally seeing wins in each other, in our progress, and in
Mm-hmm.
what we do. This is so huge. And in our learning, because especially kids who have low confidence in certain learning
Yeah.
areas. I mean, I did it. I did kill my son's love of writing, but I helped kill his confidence as well in writing and in spelling and things when he was younger. And it was so difficult for him. I really had to intentionally rebuild that, and it took a long time. But doing those types of things, that's what I was doing. Is, man, you
Yeah.
did such a good job, man. Oh wow, I can't believe you almost spelled that exactly correctly. Like, that was a big word.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. And he's like, a little bit of proudness going on. And so
Yeah.
I love that because that's intentionally helping our
Yes.
family raise up everything and creating that culture that we want. So, when we're thinking about your your coaching work and the things that you do as both a homeschool parent and with working with teachers and things like that,
Hmm.
and we both have that background
Yes.
of work, it can be what prevents us from feeling accomplished in the beginning.
Honestly, I feel like a big part of it is all we talked about this on our last episode, all the shoulds, all the things we think we should be doing. For teachers specifically, a lot of times it's like all the things their admin and coworkers are saying. For homeschool moms, honestly, a lot of times it's what you're seeing on Pinterest or what you, and even as a homeschool mom myself, a lot of it was what is in my own brain, what I was telling myself I had to do, and literally nobody else. But I didn't even recognize that. It was like my brain is like, you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to have a nice, pretty homeschool room, and it needs to be decorated, and you need to. And we talked a lot about that too. About no, you do not need a homeschool room. You can if you want. It's up to you, but there's no need. Um, am I using the right curriculum? I need to do this. I need to do that. We need to get through all of this stuff every single day. There's literally nobody telling me how to do any of those things. But for me, my brain was telling me so. And also, especially because I talked to other homeschool moms who weren't teachers who felt the same way, just because many of us who
Yes.
homeschool, we went to school. So even
Yes.
if we weren't a teacher ourselves, that was our educational experience for,
Yeah.
I'd say, most of us. I've met a few who homeschool, like are generational homeschoolers, but the majority of homeschool parents I've talked to, they went to regular school. So it's so easy to want to replicate that school at home. And then you put so much pressure on yourself about, I didn't get this done, I didn't get that done, I'm a hot mess, I don't know what I'm doing. It's all these negative thoughts that we're having about ourselves, that inner critic that is really coming after us. And so I would say that is probably the biggest thing. And then I would say the combination of that, along with just spinning our wheels trying to get all these things done, not tuning into ourselves and realizing when we need a break and taking care of ourselves, like just running on empty. So
Absolutely.
those would be
I
the
feel the
common
same
patterns
way.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And I feel like that, the educational should is the root, and then how it manifests and we see it as parents is we see this like when we're learning something new, like we're gaining a whole new paradigm shift,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I teach a lot, is that whole new paradigm shift of we're getting out of the educational should and recreating the way, what we're trying to do with learning and creating that culture. It can feel so uncomfortable because we're
Mm-hmm.
out of our comfort
Oh yeah.
zone. We don't want to do it. I don't know what I'm doing here. And it can, that uncomfortableness can, because we don't know where to look for the wins in that area because
Yeah.
we have a
And we don't
whole
know what
new
to do with that
perspective.
uncomfortable. So we
Yeah.
work through it. When
Yes.
really discomfort itself is not a bad thing. It's a growth edge. It's a way for us, like, it shows us that we are on our way to learning something new, to growing as an educator, as a parent, as a student, a lifelong learner, right?
100%.
But it's what we do
Absolutely.
with that discomfort, like sitting in it and seeing, like, okay, why am I feeling uncomfortable about this? What do I intention? Oh, it's because I'm putting all these shoulds on myself. And what is it I actually intentionally want to create for my family? And when you actually take that moment to pause and to check in and not just be driven by that should and by that inner critic, letting it, I mean, we're getting into IFS a little bit, which I love. I love talking about. You let the inner critic take the wheel, like in Inside Out, just telling the inner critic, okay, I see you, and I'm going to take back control as myself and decide, what do I want? How do I create the school year that me and my children and my spouse need?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you are so good at coaching people in this area to really, really think and be reflective and then knowing what the reality is instead of letting ourselves get away from, our brains getting away from us.
Yeah.
And so I love that. And this is what a large portion, honestly, of your event is about.
Yes.
And so educate and rejuvenate you are putting on an event which is super awesome. It's going to be so great, July 15th and 16th. And it's super, you guys, it's only $5, right? And right now there's a BOGO. You can get buy one, get one free for a
Yes.
friend, which is awesome. There's so many speakers. I am so excited to be part of this. Can you tell us a little bit about the purpose of the event and really what people are going to get out of it?
Yes, so the purpose of the event, I mean, the reason it's called Educate and Rejuvenate is because it has everything you would expect in an educational conference, as far as like we have experts in reading, we have experts in math, we have experts in homeschooling and organization. The great thing for homeschool parents that I love to point out is like when you're feeling nervous, like I want to learn from some teachers, we have some great teachers who you can learn from and bring skills into your homeschool, which I love. And then we have a lot of homeschool educators, and we have comedy. So you're going to get all the educate part, like lots of tips and strategies that are going to help your brain who's like, I need to know all the things. It'll help that because you will learn some awesome new things to get you excited. But the rejuvenate piece is really what makes it unique, because at the event, we not only have what you would expect, but we have life coaching, we have comedy, we have roundtables where we just get to talk and get real with each other and connect and learn and grow together. So it's educate and rejuvenate, because you are going to, again, I'm going to take you through live. I'm going to take you through a series of sessions that are going to help you to do a lot of what we're talking about, to get in and observe what's going on for you. And it's going to help you not only in your homeschooling, it's going to help you there, it's going to help you in every aspect of your life. Like, it's like when I learned all these things, it was a game changer in all the areas, because again, a rising tide lifts all boats. So you might be focusing on homeschooling, but maybe it'll help you with your health journey or with whatever else might be going on for you. Again,
I
so highly
absolutely love
recommend
that.
coming. We also start each day with a movement, like workout. Um, so it's really about you, holistic wellness, helping you to educate and rejuvenate.
It's exactly what I'm all about, which is why I'm so excited to be part of this. So, this is really exciting. Where can people get their ticket?
Yes, so they can go to, well, and actually, you have a special link though.
That's true. And it's
Yes.
listed in all the places. I should have said that. It listed all the places where you see the show notes here, where you're listening to this or watching this. It's listed in the show notes there. And then I will be posting about it as well. But you will be able to get your ticket for, and there's all kinds of gifts and like,
Yes.
I mean, giveaways and all kinds of amazingness
We're
happening. I
giving
mean, this
away
is like a
tons of
full
stuff.
on go to a conference, like, get all the things.
Yeah, no, we were putting together, so it's all happening in our mobile app too, which makes it really easy. Well, I mean, the lives are on Zoom, but then the replays will go in the app. And also, by the way, we keep saying the 15th and 16th, those are just the live days. You're going to have through, it's either the 21st or 22nd. I can't remember off the top of my head. I should know. One of those days, to watch all the replays and the pre-recorded sessions. So it's longer than most like free summits, because you are paying. You're going to have over a week to get through the sessions that you would like, especially if you buy your ticket like sooner, right? Because we're going to get it to you the Friday before it starts. So make sure you grab your ticket now while you're listening, so you get the max amount of time to check it all out and attend as many sessions as you can.
Yeah, and do also we just Kelsey was mentioning this before, that we just did a episode for her podcast Summer Sip series, which is happening right now. Interviews with a lot of the guests and the speakers of this conference. You can get a sneak peek of what all that
Yeah.
stuff is going to be talking about in there, and it's really really fun. You guys check that out, and it's really in a great culture. I feel like it's really great culture. Kelsey's really curated it so that it's very positive and definitely rejuvenating. So make sure that I mean, it's $5, people, like, and you can get a ticket for free, so that's like really 250. You know what I'm saying? So it makes good sense to definitely just get it whatever you can, even if it's just one little nugget. Sometimes that's, I'm like, you know what, this is worth it for whatever I can get out of it. And
Yes.
you are going to, even if you can't commit for the whole time. And I do know that there's a VIP as well, where you can get the
Mm-hmm.
replays for up
Yes,
to a
there
year
is. Yes. Well,
or
no,
the end
it's
of the
through
year.
the end of the year, the calendar
Okay.
year. Yep.
Perfect. Awesome, you guys. Well, Kelsey, thanks so much for joining us today. I feel like we delved into so much depth, and
Yes.
definitely I hope everybody feels rejuvenated after this talk here, because it is so it's so uplifting to know that we have power over ourselves and we have the ability to rejuvenate ourselves.
Yes.
And so I love that, you guys. It affects everything. It's super game changer. And Kelsey, I will see you in the conference,
Yes.
and I hopefully will see you guys there as well in the audience and wherever you're watching this. This is going to be a very, very fun event. So I will see you guys there. Bye
See
bye.
you there. Bye.